everyone. In this video, we will be solving quadratic equation by factoring, and this is the first part. I will put the link of the second part in the description box below. So let's take this first example right here. Solve for x. So this equation that we have right here. So there are steps that we need to follow in order that we can solve this type of equation right here. The first step is to use the area model or the FOIL method to multiply the binomials and make one side of the equation equal to 0. So in this problem that we have here, we are supposed to use the area model, or others would want to prefer to use the FOIL method in order that we can multiply these two binomial here. So I'm going to use the area model for this. So what I would do is I'm going to do a 2 by 2 box, and then I'm going to write out the x plus 5 here, and then that's going to be 2x and minus 1. So then I can go ahead and fill this in. 2x times x would be 2x squared, and this is negative 1x, so you can just write negative x, and this is gonna be 10x, and then this is negative 5, because I multiply 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So then I can go ahead and combine like terms, so these diagonals are like terms. So then I am left with 2x squared, and then it's going to be 10x minus 1x would be a positive 9x minus 5. So this two binomial that we have here is equal to this. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. Instead of writing these binomial, I will rewrite this. So this would come out 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals negative x minus 5. So then we go ahead and combine like terms. It says in the first step that we're supposed to make sure that one side is equal to 0. So then we go ahead and add x to both sides. So plus x, and then we have a plus 5. So I'm going to add 5, and then I'm going to add 5 as well to that. So we go ahead and cross this 2 out. So the right side is 0, and these 2 gets crossed out as well. So we're left with 2x squared plus 10x, and that is equal to 0. Now we are now ready to move on to the second step. The second step is to factor out and use the zero product property to solve for x. So we're going to factor this out. So the common factor between these two is 2x. So I'm gonna write 2x here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing the distributive backwards. So that's 2x will be placed outside the parentheses. So what number do I multiply to 2x so that we get a 2x squared? So this one has to be x. So if I distribute, that is 2x times x is 2x squared. And then I need to figure out what do I put here so that I will have a 10x. So that would be a plus 5, so that if I distribute the 2x to the 5, that would come out 10x. So pretty much I did distributive backwards. So then we go ahead and equal this to 0. So then we're now ready to solve for x. So remember the zero product property. This will be equal to 0, and this inside the parentheses will be equal to 0. So I can go ahead and write the equation right here. So that would be the first one, that's 2x equals 0. So then I solve for x by dividing both sides by 2. I divide this by 2. So then the first x right here is 0, because you have a 0 divided by 2 is a 0. Now the other equation would be x plus 5 equals 0. So again, both of these will be equal to 0. So then we go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides, minus 5. So then we can cross the 5 out. So we're left with x is equal to negative 5. So these two are the solution to this equation that we have up here. Now we are ready to move on to the third step. So the third step is to use the original equation in order that we can check our work. So we are going to check our work right here. It is very important that we check, because sometimes we get answers that actually don't work with the original equation. So again, it's very important that we check. So we are going to use the first x here. So we let x equals 0. So we're checking. So we copy the original equation right here. So that is x plus 5. And then 2x minus 1 equals negative x minus 5. Again, the trick here is that we are supposed to change the variable into a parentheses before we plug in. So all these three x's will become a parentheses first. So this would come out parentheses plus 5, and then 2 parentheses minus 1 equals negative parentheses minus 5. So as you can see, if you just plug in the 0 there, then it would be like messy, and others are gonna get confused, like what are we gonna do now? So putting the x or variable into a parenthesis would be a great help. So we put the value 0 right here. So we put the 0 and we put the 0. So then we do the math here. So as you can see here, this 0 that we have here actually works. So that means x equals 0 is a solution to this equation right here. Now we move on to the other value of x that we solved here. So we are going to let x is equal to negative 5, and we plug it in again. So we write the original equation right there. Again, the trick is to change the variables, so these three variables, into a parentheses before we plug the values in. So that would come out parentheses plus 5, and then we have 2 parentheses minus 1 equals negative parentheses minus 5. So then inside the parentheses would be the negative 5. So that's a negative 5 right here. This is a negative 5. This is a negative 5. So as you can see here, 0 is equal to 0, which means that x equals 5 is a solution to this equation that we have here. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. Again, the first step is to use the area model or the FOIL method to multiply the binomials and make one side equal to 0. So this binomial that we have here should be multiplied first, and we can use, again, the FOIL method, or you can use the area model. So I'm going to use the area model right here. So then we have a 2 by 2 box, and then the one that we put into the box would be these two. So that's 2x and then negative 4. And then the other one right here would be x minus 3. So that's x minus 3. So this would come out 2x squared. And then that's negative 6x, negative 4x, and positive 12. So we combine like terms. These two, this diagonal here would be they're like terms. So this would come out 2x squared. That's negative. So that's negative 6x minus 4x is negative 10x, and then that's a plus 12. So then this would be written down here. So this would come out negative of. That's gonna be 2x squared minus 10x plus 12 is equal to 4x minus 20. So what are we gonna do next is to distribute the negative to each term inside the parentheses. So we're gonna distribute this. Now please be careful, because others are gonna distribute only to the first one. That is not the correct way to do it. It has to be distributed to each of them inside the parentheses. So this would come out negative 2x squared plus, that's gonna be 10x minus 12 is equal to 4x minus 20. Then again, the target is to make one side equal to 0. So we're gonna subtract 4x from both sides. So minus 4x and minus 4x. Then we're gonna add 20 to both sides, then plus 20. So then we go ahead and cross the ones on the right side. That would be equal to 0. So that's the target for the first step, to make one side equal to 0. And so we are left with negative 2x squared. This is gonna be a positive 6x. And this is a positive 8. And that is equal to 0. Now we are supposed to factor this out. So we can do that by getting the common factor. So the common factor for this would be, let's take negative 2 as the common factor. So we put the negative 2 outside. So we're going to rewrite it. So this would come out. That's gonna be x squared. So if I multiply 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. So that means this is gonna be a negative 3x. So that if I multiply negative 2 times negative 3x is a positive 6x. And this one right here would be a negative 4. So if I have a negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8. And that is equal to 0. And then from here, we are going to use the box and diamond to factor these out. So I'm going to show the box and diamond method up here in order that we can factor this. So first, we are going to write the top of the diamond would be the product between the first and the last. So that is negative 4x squared. The one that we put at the bottom of the diamond is the middle term. So that is negative 3x. So we need to determine the factors. So the two factors here would be negative 4x and that's gonna be a positive x or positive 1x. So that if I multiply negative 4x times x is a negative 4x squared. Negative 4x plus x is a negative 3x. So then I'm now ready to draw the box here. So the ones that we put into the box are this one. So we write the x squared and then the last term negative 4. In the diagonal, we're going to write these red factors that we got. So negative 4x and x. So then we can determine the factors at this time. So that would be x and x. And then we have 1 right here. So it's positive 1. And then this one is a negative 4. So the factors are x minus 4 and x plus 1. So I go ahead and rewrite that over here. So instead of writing this, so that would come out negative 2 parentheses x minus 4 and then x plus 1 equals 0. So then we are going to use the 0 product property to solve for x. So this one would not be equal to 0 because that's a 2. But then we can equal this to 0. So I can go ahead and say that the first x is, so I go ahead and say x minus 4 equals 0. So plus 4 and plus 4 to both sides. So we are left with x is equal to positive 4. So this is the first solution. And then the other solution would be x plus 1 equals 0. So minus 1 and minus 1. So then we are left with x is equal to negative 1. So these two are the solutions to this equation that we have up there. Now we move on to the third step is to check our work using the original equation right here. So we show the check right here. So we're going to use the original equation to check. So we're going to use the x minus 4 first. So let x equals 4. So then we rewrite the equation. Again, the trick in checking our work is to change the variable into a parentheses before we plug in the value, which is 4. So then I'll show the work here. So as you can see here, negative 4 is equal to negative 4. So this means that when x is 4, then it is a solution to this equation right here. Now we let x equals to negative 1. So we check the other one right here. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation right there. So that's negative 2 x minus 4. That's x minus 3 is 4x minus 20. Again, the trick is to change this variable into a parentheses and plug in the values. So in this case right here, I will show the work and plug in this -1 into the parentheses. So as you can see here, both sides are equal to -24. And so we go ahead and say that this x equals -1 is a solution to this equation that we have here. Did you get the same answers as this? Good. Perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!